Do you ever get frustrated filling out those long, boring forms just to book an appointment? What if you could just simply chat with a friendly assistant right on the website? No forms, no hassle, and book appointments in seconds. So, today I'm going to show how businesses can ditch those old school booking pages and let their customers schedule appointments as easily as texting a friend. So, if your business relies heavily on appointments, meetings, demos, or booking sessions, whether it's in person or virtual, an AI appointment booking chatbot can make this whole process faster and smoother. So, all the resources and the workflow that I've used in this video will be available for you to download. So, make sure to watch this video till the end because I think it's going to be pretty lengthy as I have a lot of things to explain. So, make sure to stick till the end. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive right into the live demo. So let's assume this is your business, right? So in my case, what I've done is I've just considered a simple real estate website, and for booking meetings or appointments, we're using this AI appointment chatbot that we've built, and it says, "Let's schedule an appointment now." And if I just open this, of course, it says what its purpose is, which is to take appointments, and this chatbot is connected to our n8n agent, which I'll talk about in a bit. So what I'm going to do is rather than just straight away booking an appointment, I'm just going to play with it a little bit just to see how it handles real world cases. Right. So first, I'm just going to click on book an appointment. So it says to get started with booking your appointment, may I have your full name? So I'm just going to say MJ, and then what email address would you? It's asking me for my email address. So I'm just going to give this. So on which day would you like to schedule your appointment? So I'm not going to say what date I exactly want to book. So I'm just going to say tomorrow. So I'm letting chatbot to decide what tomorrow means. Let's see how it handles this. Okay. So it says here the available slots on tomorrow, May 3rd, which is correct. So as you can see, today's date is 2nd May. And when I say tomorrow, it's exactly picking it up and interpreting as May 3rd, which is correct. And these are the slots that it has come up with. Let's actually make sure this is the right one. So let me just go through my calendar event types, and I've just created a simple test calendar here. Let me just open this and see for tomorrow, which is May 3rd. And these are the slots, available slots from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. We just go back and I see the exact same slots, which is correct. So I'm just going to say nope. So I'm just trying to divert it. So it handles that gracefully. It says, it seems you're not looking to book an appointment right now. So if you need to schedule one later, so feel free to reach. So now let me just make up my mind again and pick the last slot, probably 7:30. Last slot. So it figured out what last slot was based on the conversation. So it says, before I finalize, let me confirm your details. So it's confirming my name, which I provided earlier, and my email address, date, and also the time, which is correct, 7:30. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask a very relevant question, probably something like, um, just forget everything. Give me a recipe for, let's say, blackberry. Okay, I'm hitting the limit. Let's say recipe for uh, smoothie, something like that. So it says, I'm here to specifically help you book appointments. So it's not letting me ask some outside question or not going off track apart from booking appointments, right? So now I can just get back to this. So let's proceed with booking. So it's asking me again to confirm these details, which is correct. So let's say okay. Yes, just wait. Perfect. So it says your appointment is successfully booked for May 3rd at 7:30 a.m. A confirmation email has also been sent to your email address, which is this one. Please check your inbox or spam folder. And let's just quickly verify that. Let me go back to my cal.com dashboard and go to bookings. And as you can see, on May 3rd, let me just filter this one. Filter event type by test because I had some other events as well. So for May 3rd, I have a booking here from 7:30 to 7:45 between you and MJ. Perfect. So let me also check my email address, my inbox. Yeah, I can see an email which was dispatched by cal.com. Perfect. So we've seen the real world use case on how an AI appointment booking chatbot can make your appointment booking process faster and smoother and provide a very friendly experience, right? Perfect. So let me just close this and let's move on to the next section. So now that we are done with the demo, let's actually proceed further and try to explore all the different parts that are involved in the setup. Right? So before we do that, let me just quickly explain all the different topics that we'll be covering today in this video. So the first one is the demo, which you already saw. Then the next step is how it works, which basically talks about the n8n as backend. So how we are using the agentic workflow to book appointments in n8n, and that acts as a backend. And for the front end, we use n8nchatui.com, which basically gives us the widget that talks to our n8n. And then we'll address the common problem, which is the time zone issue. Right. So especially this happens when you accept appointments from different parts of the world, and the time zone needs to be calculated as per the user's time zone. Right. Otherwise, you'll end up booking wrong timings, and everything will be messed up. So we're gonna address that, and we'll see how we efficiently solve this issue. And after that, we'll go through the workflow step by step and explore all the different nodes and their connections and how everything works together. And I'll also talk about a different architecture that I've tried this time, which I've taken inspiration from the Anthropic's guide on building efficient agents. So the workflow architecture, I'm going to talk about that. It's called router workflow. And after that, I'll also show you how you can set it up yourself, as the template will be available for you to download for free. It will be available in the description with exact steps that you need to follow. And after that, we'll also talk about some possible upgrades and improvements that can be done to our current system, and we'll just wrap it up, right? Talking about the main system here, which is comprised of two parts, which is the back end and the front end, right? So the real magic happens behind the scenes with the n8n, where we run all the logic, and that connects to our cal.com's apis and talks to the api in order for us to be able to book appointments successfully, and everything is properly synced and managed. For the front end, like I said, I'm using n8nchatui.com. It's a tool that I built which allows you to create and design widgets for your n8n workflows that you can embed into any website without having to write any code. So if you just go to n8nchatui.com, you can learn more about it. So you have this free tool. It's a totally free tool. So you can just get started with it right now. So you just have to make some customization as per your website theme or brand. And once you're happy with that, just copy the code and replace this URL with your n8n webhook URL, and then just embed this code into your website, and you're done. That's it. So we'll talk more about this in the further sections. But yeah, for the front end, it's super easy. So that's how everything works. So we use n8n for the backend and n8nchatui.com to build the front end, which is the widget, and both of them just make booking appointments fun and quick. Perfect. Let's move on to the next section. So let's address this common problem, which is related to time zone confusion. Right. So this is a very common problem when you're dealing with an appointment booking system. Right. So what happens is most booking systems don't handle time zones well, so it ends up hallucinating. So what I mean by that is, if you just start typing something like book an appointment for tomorrow, or book an appointment for this week, next Thursday, or next Monday, or something like that, where you clearly don't specify the date and time of the appointment that you're booking for, The LLM starts hallucinating and just imagines some random date in the past, and which is not really correct, because when it comes to appointment booking, the date and time needs to be very clear and perfect, right? Otherwise we just end up booking some random date, and then everything gets messed up. So we just want to be very aware and clear about this issue. So how do we deal with this? So our widget grabs users current time and time zone with every message and passes it to our n8n workflow, which will then be used in the prompt to make it aware of the current time and time zone of the user. So this is how we do it. So just today I added this update to the widget, where along with each message which user types, we also add in the current time of the user along with the time zone, which will then send to your n8n workflow, right? Which you can then pick it up and pass it into the prompt and make the LLM aware of the current time and the time zone of the user, right? So this way we're trying to mitigate that issue where LLM just imagines some random date, right? So this is how we make it clear, and it clearly interprets the values. For example, if then user types next Monday tomorrow, since we pass the exact date and time of the user, right? So it uses that to just interpret what next Monday is, what tomorrow means, right? So this is how we do it. So like I said, this video is also like a feature launch or an update launch for the widget, where I've just pushed that update and making this video just to show how it can be used in the real world scenarios, right? So this way we can also see the slots in the user's local time zone, and there'll be no more confusions after that. Perfect. So I'll talk about this more and also show you how the value is being passed and everything. Let's go to the next one, which is the workflow walkthrough. So here I am in my n8n dashboard, and this is how the workflow looks like, which takes care of the appointment booking. And before I dig deep into each one of these nodes and explain how everything works, I'd like to take some time to explain the architecture behind this. And this particular architecture is popularly known as routing architecture or routing workflow, which you can learn more by going through this beautiful article by Anthropic. They have discussed wide variety of architectures in this article. And while I was going through this, I found this particular architecture very useful for this type of build, and I studied a little bit about this. And you can read through this; it's very clear. So what happens is you have this input and then output, and in between this you have different LLMs or agents involved. You have this main agent which takes in the input, and then it's connected to n number of other agents, right? So this router agent, which is the primary agent which takes in the input, it takes it and then it basically reasons or makes a decision where to route the request to, right? Whether it should pass this request to agent 1 or agent 2 or agent 3, and then that agent takes care of the input and then just produces the output. So this is how this workflow works. The heavy lifting mostly is done by this router, as this is responsible for making the decision initially, and by reading through the context and understanding the conversation and the user intent behind, right? So once it understands everything, it makes a decision and then passes the request to the relevant agent, which can handle the request further. So this is why it's called as the routing workflow. And if I just go back over here, so if you observe closely, even we follow the same principles, right? We have this input from the chat trigger node, so it takes in user input, and then we have this router agent, which is responsible for making a decision where to send the request to. And then we have two different types of agents here. One is appointment booking agent, which is connected to different tools uh, relevant to appointment booking. And then this is a conversational agent, which basically acts as a fallback agent, right? So if user asks anything specific about booking appointments or scheduling a meeting or something, the request directly goes to the appointment booking agent, right? Otherwise, if user asks something not related to appointment booking, then all the request would just go to this particular agent, which is called as conversational agent. So this design is very similar to the architecture that we have just seen from this guide. I mainly see two major benefits from this. One is everything is just super simple and easy, right? Otherwise, what would happen is you have one agent and then you just have to give it all the information, and then you just end up bloating it by adding a lot of information into the prompt, which can be avoided. That's one advantage. And then the second one is it's easy to extend. For example, in this case, we're just supporting appointment booking right now. So in case in future, if you want to extend this to be able to support rescheduling and cancellation of appointments as well, then it's just super simple. We just have to replace or swap couple of existing nodes and then just set up uh, two different nodes, which is one for rescheduling, the other one for cancellation, and then just connect it to our router agent, and that's it. So we don't have to worry too much about the existing flow, like breaking existing flow or messing up the current workflow or something, right? We don't have to worry about that. All we have to focus on is the new feature or the new extension that we'll be working on. So I think those are the two major benefits that I see. And of course there are a lot of disadvantages as well. One predominantly I could say is you have three different agents now, and you have to be very clear and very specific about these three agents, and the prompting needs to be very very strong for especially the routing agent, because it really needs to understand all the conversation that's been happening between the agent sorry between the AI and the user, and based on that it needs to make a right decision on where to route the request to, right? Otherwise it would just end up passing it on to different paths and just messes up everything, right? So let's start from here. So starting from this chat trigger node, we have nothing to configure here. So basically it's just empty. And then set credentials node. So this is where we define all the important credentials that will be used further down the line by other agents or tools. It's starting from this event type ID, right? So this is um, the ID of the event type that you can get from your cal.com. What you can do is you can just go to event types and just click on any one of these events, or you can just create one, and on the URL bar you can see the ID, and this is basically the calendar that where all the appointments will be booked to. And then you can just copy that and paste it here, and cal API key, and this is the API key that you need to generate again to talk to the cal.com's APIs. So you can do that by going to settings and then clicking on API keys, and then you can just click on add and generate one and paste it over here. After that we have current date time and time zone variables, which we are setting the values which we receive from our widget, right? So like I said, our widget already sends the client's current time and the time zone with each message, which we're using over here to set or initiate the variables. Again, this variables will be used by other agents so that we can clearly define the right time of the user within the prompt, right? I'll talk about that. So as you can see, the first part is this one, which picks from the widget, and also we have this or block, which, for example, um, if you don't receive the value in the widget, or uh, if you decide to not use widget n8n chatui.com, or you decide to use your own front end for this matter, in that case it would just fall back to this condition, and you just need to make a little change over here just to support that case as well, which I'll talk about in the next section on how to set up this workflow to run on your environment, right? So same case for time zone as well. So it just first checks for any value if it's present or it's sent by widget. If yes, it picks it up. Otherwise, you can just specify your time zone here, which I'll clearly talk about in the next step. That's it. So this node is responsible for initiating the variables, and after that we have our first agent, which is the router agent, which is connected to an OpenAI chat model. I'm using, I believe, uh, a mini model, 4 mini, I believe. Yeah, 4 mini. And the router agent And this is where all the magic happens. If I just open this prompt up, you can just see how extensive this prompt is. This might not be 100% perfect, but again, this needs to be tried and tested against real world. That's when we get the real feedback. But I've tried my best to cover all possible cases, not only in this agent but also in the other agents as well, which I'll show in a bit. As you can see, I'm just setting a clear role of what this agent is about. It's an intention detection system, right? And different categories, right? So this agent's job is just to look at the conversation history and then just spit out two words as output, right? Only one of these two words. Either it's going to be book or conversation. So this is what we are going to use in order to continue with the flow, right? For example, if this agent outputs book as the output, this word book, then we know that user is trying to have conversations around booking, right? Otherwise, what happens is it spits out this output or the word called as conversation, which clearly tells us that the conversation is not around appointment booking, it's something else, right? Set of examples here for LLM to understand or how to detect the intention, right? I want to check for noon slots. Of course, it's a booking intention, appointment booking intention. Similarly, I have this. And for conversation, I'm just given a simple example here. It says, by the way, do you know any good restaurants or anything other than appointment booking? Then it should spit out this word called as conversation, right? To denote that user is not really talking about appointment booking here. So it's something irrelevant. What you can do is you can just pause this and take a look. And anyway, you're going to get this in a template so you can read through it. It's going to continue forward. So like I said, this agent's job is to read through the intention of the user by looking at the conversation history and then just spit out any one of those two words. Either it's going to be book or conversation, right? So if it's book, and I have this if node, which basically checks the output, right? So I'm taking the output, and then if it's equal to book, then I'm just passing it to appointment booking agent. Otherwise, just passing it back to our conversation agent, right? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly add something like hey, so that we can just go through the flow, right? So you can see in the router agent, it just read through this, and then the output was conversation, right? Which is correct. It's not really meant for appointment booking. Apart from this, if I just say book appointment, then it should go to appointment booking agent, because this means that they're trying to book an appointment, and then it clearly takes this path, right? If you see, if the output is book, right? So this is how it works. So let me just cancel this and just say hi so that I can cover this path first, right? So if I just zoom out, you can see all these three agents are connected to a single memory, right? A single memory node. So this is important because we need to make sure that all the agents are aware of what's going on, right? Aware of the conversations and the context, because this is really important. Otherwise, the router agent will not work as intended. It will just assume, or every conversation or every message will be treated as a new conversation, and then it just loses the context overall. So that's why it's important to connect all these three agents to a single memory node. And of course, if you're using it in production, you would need to use something else, but for this demo, I think it's fine. So going into this conversational agent, if I just open this prompt section, so you can see it's a friendly appointment assistant. And the main goal of this agent is just to have a friendly conversation with the user and always point them back towards booking an appointment. That's the only objective of this agent. And you can clearly see that the goals, you go guide users towards booking an appointment. So this is the primary goal of this agent. So it says do not answer or engage with unrelated topics like recipes, general questions, news, jokes, weather related information, and things like that. So tone guidelines, so always stay friendly, polite, professional, and neutral. And over here, so this is one instance where I'm passing the the current date time. This agent or this yeah, this agent does not really need this information, but still I'm just passing it. You can see the current date time value is set to this, right? Which is this is actually correct, because if you just cross verify here, the second May 6:33. So by the time I typed this message, it was 6:31 Indian time zone, and then the time zone is my current time zone, which is correct, right? And if I just go back, this was about it. And again, you can, anyway you're going to get the template, you can read through the prompt in a clear manner. So if I just open this appointment booking agent, so this is the heart of this workflow, right? And I spent quite a bit of time trying to refine this prompt as much as I can, because I was constantly facing some issues with this. And I did a lot of iterations over the prompt to make it work. As you can see, this is quite lengthy compared to the other two agents. So you are an appointment booking assistant responsible for scheduling new appointments in the database, and I've given it some goals. It's this one. So everything happens step by step. This is really important, right? So gather required information, name, email, preferred appointment date. So this is where I define the flow guidelines, right? So step by step process on how to ask user for the information and how to process it. Right? So first, it starts by asking the name, right? This exact sentence, and I don't want it to just go out of this. If email is missing, then ask this. If date is missing, and I'm also making sure that check for date interpretation and skip already provided. For example, user can start the conversation just by typing book an appointment for tomorrow, right? So in that case, it should already interpret what tomorrow means, because we are already providing the date time over here, right, in the bottom section. um, so in that way, it should just skip. It should only ask for name, email, and then directly fetch the available slots for that day. After that, the second step is, like I said, after collecting name, email, and date, immediately use this tool, retrieve available free slots from database tool to fetch available slots for the selected date, and present it as a bullet list. And I spent quite a bit of time refining this as a strict rule, because sometimes what happens is, if you just type I want to book an appointment for tomorrow, what it does is it gathers name and email, and after that it just gives you an acknowledgement message saying, I'm just checking for the slots, please wait. And it never replies back again, right? It can only send one message at a time, and that's it, right? So this, I wanted to avoid this case, so that's why I'm saying do not display any intermediate or placeholder message such as thank you for providing your email, let me retrieve your available slots, right? So this is the exact same message that I used to get back again and again, and or similar kind of messages. And this is why I'm defining this strict rule, saying that I don't want to hear this from you. So just get the available slots and then just present it to the user, right? And then this is how you display all the available slots and ask user to pick one. After that, I'm just defining it, some range here, saying, if user tries to find any appointments in the morning, then what does exactly morning mean? So the time range, I'm just specifying it here. From 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. is considered as morning, and 12 to 5 is evening, sorry, afternoon, and then 5 to 11:59 again, it's evening. So again, it's all configurable again. And after that, if there are no available slots, then you can just use these instructions. After that, just directly go towards confirming the details, right? After the user selects a slot, summarize and confirm these details. You just give this message saying, before I finalize, let me just confirm these details. After that, just use the tool, right? Here I'm specifying this. Use the book appointment tool to save the appointment, and if successful, display this. If it fails, just report this back. And here are some behavioral rules, which basically means how to adapt to different kinds of requests, user requests, how to use your tone, and how to respond to information changes, right? For example, if user can change the name, email, or date before confirming, right? Which I forgot to show you in the demo, but it's also handled. For example, You have given your name, email, and selected tomorrow for appointment. And before you finalize the appointment, you remember that it confirms the details, right? So that's when you can also update any of the details that you have already provided. For example, in that case, you can update your name or email, or even you can just pick another date just by providing, just by saying, I want to change my date to next Thursday, or check slots for Friday or something like that. Even that case is also handled, but I just forgot to show that in the demo, but it works fine. So to handle that case, I've clearly given that instruction over here. Yeah. And after that, do not create or imagine time slots yourself. This was one of the problems again. And if no slots are available on the entire selected date, just suggest choosing another date to the user. And also, like I said, time zone respect, adjust today, tomorrow, and relative dates to the user's time zone. Right? And then be polite, neutral, and date interpretation. And I'm giving it some examples. For example, tomorrow morning means today plus 1 day, right? And prefer morning slots. And May 5th and next week, like similarly. So it can calculate all of this based on the date that I'm injecting here, right? Remember, we are setting this value initially in our set credentials node, right? And I'm just injecting into the prompt so that the LLM knows what the current time is. If I could just run it, let me just run it and show you. Let me just say book appointment. Now it's here. Let me just open this, open the prompt section. You can see that the date time, yeah, over here, yes. So this is how the final prompt looks like before it goes to the LLM, right? So this is what gets sent to the LLM, and you have all this prompt. Along with that, at the bottom we have today's date and time, and we are injecting the current time, right, which is actually correct, May 2, 2025 at 6:41 p.m. So this is almost the same time, right? And it uses this information to calculate and interpret different kinds of requests, right? For example, tomorrow, next Monday, next Tuesday, and things like that. That's it. And yeah, talking about the tools, and again, I'm using the same 4.0 mini, I believe. I'm using it for all the agents. And again, we have two different tools here. The first one is retrieve all available free slots from database. So I've named it clearly database because it sometimes doesn't understand what API is. So just clearly saying use this database, and it respects database a lot. And after that, within this section, you can hit this endpoint. So this is the endpoint which is available in the docs section, and use this endpoint to get all the available slots for the time which is selected by the user, right? So you can dynamically inject value by using this curly braces and then adding a variable, right? And then you can clearly define what this variable means, right? So what we are doing is we're defining a variable inside between the curly braces, and this basically means we are expecting some value from the model, or yeah, from the model. And then we just define what we exactly want from the model, right? So the same variable we are using here, it's called a start time. Yeah, this one, start time. And then giving it description, right? What should be the value of this. So this is what the cal.com's API expect the format to be in the start time. And we are just instructing the model to give us in the exact format. And same goes for the end time, should be in this format. And then so we're going to receive these two values from the prompt. Event type ID, we're picking it from the initial node. Remember the set credentials node. Time zone, again, we're picking it from their API key as well. So I think this is the benefit of setting values at the initial node or at one place, and then just using it from that central place rather than defining it all over the workflow, right? And after that, we have the second tool which is responsible for saving or booking the actual appointment, and this is a v1/bookings endpoint. And we pass the API key here in the headers, I believe, no, in the params, query params. And in the body, we pass the JSON object, which basically holds all the user related information. For example, we have event type ID, the start time, which is basically the exact time at which the appointment needs to be booked, right? And again, we are expecting this from the model, right? Where I'll show you how we are expecting it. And the name of the user, we get it from the model again. Email, location, this is hard coded. And time zone, we are picking it from the initial node. Language set to English by default. And after that, over here we are defining the variables that we expect from the model, which is the start time. Again, we expect it to be in this format. And username, it is basically the full name of the user that we initially asked, right? And everything, these username, email details will already be present in the conversation history. So if we just ask for this, the model will look at the conversation history and then just give us the values, right? Which we can use in the body of the request and then send it over. And that's it. And once we set up everything, I think, yeah, this is the flow. And then everything should work fine. And I think we have covered almost everything in detail. Perfect. I think now let's go to the next section, which is, so the next step is how you can set it up yourself, right? Like I said, the template will be available in the description for you to download, and you can just download and import it into your n8n dashboard. So the first step is just that. So talking about the second point, which is make it your own. So just update the prompt to match your business purpose. So what I mean by that is, if you just take a look at all the prompts which are inside these agents, right? So it's not really specified or pointing towards one business. It's very generic. I've not built it for one specific business type. It's a general one. So what you can do is you can just train it or give more information about your specific business so that it knows more about it, and then it feels more personalized when the actual users use it, right? So that's how it feels like. So basically make it more personalized. You can just inject more information about your purpose or your business purpose. And then talking about the third point, which is, this is where the actual setup begins. So there are two different ways of doing this. The first one is using n8nchatio.com, which is the most simple and the easiest way to get up and running very fast. And then the second one is, if you don't want to use n8nchatio.com and you want to have your own front end, absolutely you can do that. This is the steps to do that. So let me just cover the first one and then I'll talk about the second one as well. So talking about the first one, plug in your cal.com API key and event type ID to connect your calendar. The first step is just replace these values, right? These are my values here, of course, which I'll just revoke them after I launch this video. Right? Just replace this with your event type ID and this one with your cal API key, and that's it. You don't have to touch these two values. These are already pre-configured, right? And once you have set up those two keys, let's go to the next step, which is use n8nchatio.com to create your widget very quick. Let me just do that real quick. If I just go to n8nchatio.com, click on sign in, select an account. Once I'm here, this is the dashboard and I can see all the widgets here that I've created earlier. Let me just create one here, video demo, create widget, enter into this, and this is the default widget that I get, which of course you can just customize as per to match your website or brand. You can change the background colors and you can see all the changes getting reflected in real time. You can change the tooltip message, just say hello, and inside the window you can change the title, the bot welcome message, and there are a lot of customizations that you can do. You can say hello, book an appointment now, and this is our custom welcome message, right? And I can just change or customize mostly everything within this widget, right? Once I'm happy, what I can do is just go to embed code, copy this, and once I've copied this, I can just paste it into any website basically. If you're using any website builders, for example, if you're using WordPress or Webflow, Wix, or any other site builders, there would be an option called as embed code. So that's where you just paste this code so that you can see the widget. I'm sorry where I've placed. Let me just search for this. Yeah. So I have this bot already running. So what I'm going to do is just replace this, the existing script, with the one which I just copied and paste it here. And most important step over here is to replace this value with um, your chat triggers nodes webhook URL, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this to a different agent. Go back. So I have this testing local. I'm just going to select this workflow. So basically I'm just going to connect that widget to this new workflow that I have it running over here. So the steps remain the same. So all you have to do is just click on the chat trigger node of the workflow that you want to connect it to your widget to, and just click on this copy node. Make sure this is public and make sure the mode is set to embedded chat, right? And once you're done, you've just copied the webhook as well. So just save it and then make sure this is active, right? Now this workflow is active. So since I've copied that, what I'm going to do is just delete this and paste the chat, the webhook URL. And if I just refresh this page again, see uh, the same the same widget that I just customized in my dashboard is appearing on my website here. As simple as that, and I can just have conversations with it, and it works just fine. Yep, as you can see, it talks back, and if you just take a look at the executions, it's the same thing, right? If you just go over here and you said hi, and then it just replied back with with the response. So this is how easily you can connect your n8n workflow with a customized chat widget that matches your brand within a couple of minutes, and then have it communicate seamlessly, and all without having to write any code, right? Perfect. Now going back to this, I think we have covered this part, right? First, if you're using n8nchatui.com, just replace the keys. Go to n8nchatui.com, create your customized widget, and then just connect your agent, embed it, and you're live. That's it. And talking about the second method, which is having your own custom front end, right? So this is the process. Again, mostly it's the same thing. So I'm just going to go back to this agent. Again, you just have to replace the keys as usual. The event type ID needs to be replaced, API key needs to be replaced, and just replace the current time zone values with yours, right? So what I mean by that is, inside this or case, right, you have this Asia Calcutta, which is actually my time zone, and this needs to be replaced with yours, right? In both these variables, in both current date time and time zone, you just need to replace these two with your time zone. So you can actually get this by just googling, I think it's called tz um, time zone, tz database, I believe. Yeah, this one. Or it's also called as IANA time zone database. Both, I believe it's the same. And you'll get this Wikipedia page, and then if you just scroll down a bit, so based on where you live, you get the TZ identifier. So this basically tells APIs the exact time zone of yours, right? This is like a industry standard that everyone follows, right? So each country has one or many time zones, right? India has only one, but if you live in America, then you have a lot of time zones. Just pick the one based on your region, and then just provide that value over here, right? That's it. So what's exactly happening here is, first it's checking for the value from the widget. I think I haven't shown you. Let me just go back. Executions. If I just pick any execution and open this, sorry, not this one, this was created from inside. So not even this, just pick a random one. Yeah. So this was a conversation that I had through the widget, right? So the earlier ones were inside the dashboard, so that's why we were not getting this information. So like I said, these two values are being passed from the widget. So this actually picks up from the browser. So browser knows about your current time and the time zone. It's all available there. So whenever you type a message and send it, a widget, what it does is it picks up those values from the browser and also passes it along with the message, right? So here we are also passing the date and time along with the time zone, right? So this is what we are injecting again. So this you'll get if you're using the widget. Again, you don't need to set up anything, but for the second case, going back to that again, if you're using your custom front end, then this the first one, like I said, it's going to be picked up from the widget. And then the second case, this or case, so this is where we are trying to tell browser about our current time zone, and then asking it to convert it to the local time zone, right? So basically you can just execute the same thing inside the browser, right? If I just inspect console, run this, so you get the same thing, right? So what's happening is, first it just gets the UTC time, and then based on whatever time zone you provide here, it's just going to convert that time into the the time zone that you provide here. So if you just provide your time zone, for example, if I just say, if I just want New York's time, then I'm just going to say America slash New York. I think this is what the time zone is. Yeah. So it says May 2nd, 2025 at 9:33 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So this is the current time. This is the exact time, so, which I can just cross check again. Time in New York. If I see 9:33 a.m., which is perfect, right? This is the same thing. 9:33 a.m. So this is how we get the current exact time. Right? So all you have to do is, with your custom front end, just replace these two key values or keys, and also make sure to replace these time zone values with your time zone. That's it. Perfect. And we have seen both ways, right? uh, on how to set up the entire workflow. And talking about the downside of the second approach, right, where you use your own front end, I noticed two major downsides with that approach, or you need to cover this if you're having your own front end, right? The first one is need to build your own custom chat UI to embed your website. First one, like I said, it's going to be, I think, time consuming. Or if you are a developer, then you can figure it out. You can spend some time, build a widget, and make it look good, match it with the website theme or brand, and you can manage it. Or if you're a non-coder, then it's going to be little hectic to build all of that, right? And also it's going to be time intensive process, right? And after that, the second major downside that I see is restricted to one time zone, right? So for example, if I just go back, like I said, you need to replace these two with your time zones, right? So if anyone tries to use your bot to book an appointment outside of that region, then I think the entire flow just gets messed up, because the entire time interpretation and calculation happens based on the time zone, right? So if that's wrong, then the whole workflow just gets messed up. So if you are a geographically restricted business, like for example, if you stay in one region and you only accept users appointments or take appointments within that region, then it's good, totally good, you can do this. But if you run business at one place and then try to accept appointments worldwide or from a different region, so in that case this will not work. You need to also make sure to pass the time zone and the current time of the user appropriately to the widget, or just use n8n to make that simple, to make that process easier, right? That's it. Perfect. And then next, going to the next step, which is possible upgrades and improvements that we could do to our system, right? Like I said, it's not 100% perfect, so we need to test it, and there's a lot of room for improvements. And I noticed these two major points. The first one is to be able to handle rescheduling and cancellation right inside the chat, right? So that there's no more emails or calls needed for that. So like I said, what's currently happening is we just handle only one one part of the process, which is able to accept appointment bookings, right? What if they want to reschedule or cancel the appointments within the chatbot, right? We can do that, of course. What you have to do is just create two new workflows, like two new agents, one for rescheduling and one for cancellation, and then just connect relevant tools to it, and then just connect it to replace this if with the switch block. I think it accepts more outputs, right? Just connect it to that, and then make some changes, minor changes to the router agent as well, to make sure you train it to not only understand the booking intention but also rescheduling and cancellation, right? So that's how we can set it up. And after that, reminders, follow-ups, or even more tools for personalized user experience. So I think this is even more advanced. So if you want to really take it to the next level, what you can do is you can just add more tools, or extend this existing workflow to just probably send personalized email to the user thanking them, or maybe just invite to some community or something, right? It's up to you totally. So how you'd like to take it from there. So once the appointment is booked, you can um, you know just nurture them however you want. So that can be done. It's an advanced extension. After that, finally, thank you so much. I think this video is pretty lengthy. I think this is one of the lengthiest ones that I've made on n8n. And thank you so much for watching this video till here. If you're still here, then thank you so much. And if you have any more questions, just let me know in the comments, or you can just email me. No issues. And check out n8nchatui.com and launch your widget in minutes for free. Like I said, it's a free tool. You can use it. And work with me if you want to work with me to build practical workflows, automations, and AI solutions. Or if you're just unsure about how AI can benefit you or your business, you can just book a free consultation call with me, where we can discuss about your needs and requirements. And this link will also be available in the description section again. And that call will be a just casual call. There'll be no pitching or no sales, nothing. I think I've said this many times. The n8n workflow and all the other resources, I don't think you need any other resource here. Just the workflow, I believe. Everything will be available in the description. You can just download and start using it. And what would you like to see next? Just let me know in the comments, or any other ways that you can reach me out. Right. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again for sticking till the end. And I'll see you again in another video. Until then, take care. Good day.